Good evening. I'm Stephanie Jansky, the Director of Programming for the City Club of Cleveland, and I'd like to welcome you to tonight's PKNovate event, presented by the Cleveland Council on World Affairs and powered by PKNovate. The mission of the City Club of Cleveland is to inform, connect, and motivate citizens to take action on issues that are relevant in our region, and tonight's program, as you'll find out very shortly, does just that. In a few moments, you will hear presentations on how innovation and entrepreneurship can revitalize communities. We are thrilled to host this event and are excited to hear from our presenters, including students from the Iraqi Young Leaders Exchange Program. We hope that what you learn here this evening inspires you to take action in your own communities. Next, I'd like to introduce Madeline Reif from the Cleveland Council on World Affairs.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good evening. Thank you for joining us at our event, PKNovate 20 Slides to Change the World. This event comes out of a partnership between the Cleveland Council on World Affairs, the City Club of Cleveland, and PKNovate Cleveland. Thank you to our partners. Tonight you will hear from 8 Cleveland area residents working in innovative or creative ways around entrepreneurship to improve our community. Many of these presenters met with our group, the Iraqi Young Leaders Exchange Program, and our American participants in this program. These students have spent about 2 weeks in Cleveland studying these topics, and we are honored that you will hear from 3 of them tonight, along with some Americans as well, on their views on various facets of community issues relating to youth. I will let them speak for themselves, but I think you'll be very interested to hear their voices. The program tonight, I should note, is funded by the Department of State and also by 2 local partners, the Harvard Business School Club of Northeast Ohio and the Stolier Family Foundation, and we thank them for their support as well. So without further ado, I will turn the podium over to our friends at PKNovate Cleveland. Thank you.
Thank you, Madeline. Raise your hand. How many people for you is this your first PKNovate event? All right, that's so great. It's great to see we've got a new group of people here tonight. So today is actually a powered by PKNovate event, and I'll introduce that a little bit more in detail. But PKNovate is a global organization, 20 images by 20 seconds. Every presenter you see up here tonight will have 20 images they'll present, and they'll have 20 seconds for each. It takes place in over 700 cities around the world, Cleveland being one of the fair cities. And some of the Iraqi students will tell you that while there aren't any in Iraq right now, they'll be starting one when they go back. So make sure you encourage them to do that. PKNovate is a totally not-for-profit organization. You'll see a few volunteers here tonight. Heather and Mike are in the audience already. And we don't do this for any money. And we're not allowed to take any money. The whole point of this is encouraging creativity and, like tonight's theme, innovation. Klein Dytham Architecture started PKNovate in Tokyo, and they've been growing ever since. And tonight is a powered by PKNovate event. This is actually our second big powered by. What this means is we encourage organizations like the Cleveland Council on World Affairs to present their own PKNovate events. We, as PKNovate Cleveland, put on 4 events every year. Our next one will be August 7th at Mall B, shameless plug. Make sure you're there in conjunction with AHA, presented by Land Studio, and with the Gay Games. But powered by our organizations putting on their own PKNovate events. And we encourage any of you, if you find that there's something valuable here tonight, to contact us, and we would be happy to partner with you to put together a PKNovate presentation. Again, tonight we've got PKNovate. That's a great title that the Cleveland Council on World Affairs came up with. So with that, let's get started with our presentations, and I think Madeline's going to be introducing our first speaker. Thank you.
Okay. It's my pleasure to introduce Sally Maki, an Iraqi. She is 17 years old. She was born in Jordan and grew up in Dubai. And as she notes in her biography, her most important characteristic at the moment is that she is an IYLEPer and proud to be one. So let's welcome Sally.
Okay. Hey Cleveland. Hey Cleveland. How are you all feeling today? This is for you guys, Cleveland, our IYLEP group for 2014. Please welcome them all. And this is my family. These are the Stepanics. This is my mom, Rachel, and my dad, Danny. And they're like under 30 years old, but they're the best parents ever. And this is our very spoiled dog, Lola. This is our first day in Cleveland. We went to a farm where we visited the heritage of Cleveland and the history. We learned the importance of the history, and we also met with Justin, who has disabilities, but at the same time, he is working very hard to change the future. So this is a past and a future. And this is our first weekend in Cleveland, where I've visited the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, went shopping, sightseeing, and to the zoo. Also to the movies with the most amazing seats. They're very comfortable. And yeah, the rainforest, of course. This is our time in the lunch house where we met with YOU, an organization that supports the teenagers to start their businesses. And we also met with Andrew as well. He's right there. This is our time in Kick It, and we've learned that you can do simple stuff such as just like a sport. This is the Kick It, kicking a ball to raise funds for cancer researchers. And the mom who started that project, her son has cancer. This is our breakdown. We're not very perfect people. We get sick and we're tired and we sleep as well, but we have our mentors here supporting us. Thank you guys for the support. Yeah, that's Hassan sleeping, by the way. This is our time in LEAP, the lunch house, and these guys are amazing. They support the small projects and they share ideas. It's a place where you can share ideas as a teenager and start selling your products there. We had fun with them and hopefully start a lunch house there. This is our second weekend, and we should point out that Cedar Point is the most amazing place here in Cleveland. We also had amazing time visiting the beach and viewing the sunsets here, and this guy is the most professional bowling player ever. This is a continuation to our second weekend here. Paintball was amazing for the guys as well, and the Niagara Falls, and this is Hassan with his family and friends. So the weekends were the most amazing. Thanks for the host families. This is our iftar. It's the second day of the weekend, and I actually went to a church in the morning for a baptism, and then we went to the Great Mosque for an Islamic iftar with my family. So religions can like get together at the same day, I guess. This is our time in the library. We spent a lot of time in the Cleveland Public Library, and we enjoyed the workshops and the social entrepreneurship programs for us. Hopefully it was like our idea and brainstorming time for us. We really enjoyed it. This is our time in the Cleveland Crops. These guys are amazing. They start from the scratch, and the government supports them as well. And what is unique about their crops is that they help people with disabilities. They train them. They give them employment skills to use here and then get a real job and employment outside. This is our hunt search in the market, and we just want to say that our group won. So we found everything there, and then we saw that sign where you actually write your name, and I guess it represents all the people that visited that place. This is our time in the Museum of Arts. We went just a couple of days ago, and as you can see, like even if you're a teenager, you can have fun in the museum. So yeah, this is like selfies with the statues. This is our time with the Mexican students. They're actually here with us today. Make some noise, people. It's an amazing culture exchange. We didn't just meet the Americans. We met students from all around the world, and we're actually similar, more than we even thought. This is our time at the lake, and actually, like, we went there yesterday, and people just like ran out of the cars and went to the lake to take pictures. So I guess, like, if you're in Cleveland, you should go visit the lake. Yeah, we're a crazy group. That was yesterday. We went to, I guess that was actually my first baseball game. And I don't know the rules actually, but it was fun. And it actually takes 3 hours, I guess. So we went to the Crashers game. They were amazing. Thank you all.
Who says you can't have a good time in Cleveland? Wow. Welcome. And I see from your photos what an amazing presentation, and I'm so happy that you got to absorb the scope of our city and our amazing culture here, and also see some of the amazing innovation and entrepreneurship projects that we have. So welcome. Thank you so much. One last applause. Great presentation. Thank you. The next presenter I want to introduce is Ryan Boulay. He first recognized the power of people-to-people democracy when he moved to Iraqi Kurdistan in 2011. Living in a country where every aspect of life was different forever changed his worldview. The most important lesson of all has stuck with him to this day. We're all diplomats. Ryan. Wonderful.
Thank you. First off, I want to say when I was 16, 17, 18, there's no way I could have got up here and done this. So I think we give all of our students another round of applause. So when foreigners tend to look at the United States with little interaction with Americans, they tend to think of one of two things. On one hand, we have what's going on in DC. On the other hand, we have what's going on in American pop culture. And some of us look at what's going on in DC and have a face like this, but a lot of people's impressions are shaped by that. And I think it's important to reflect because as we think about American values and what we hold dear to us and what we want our image to be, it's important to look at what we're projecting. So while we might look at a movie and say, oh, that's fun, someone else might look at it and say, Americans really live like that? They're crazy. So we have to think about what is representing us abroad. Now we have teams of professionals all over the world working in our embassies to promote American interests all across the board. And they're doing a great job, but they can't do it all. They can't meet 8,000 people a day. On the other hand, we have the most multinational companies of any country in the world, but they have a very different focus. Their goal is to make profit. So as citizens, what can we do? Do we just step back, close the curtain, and hope that these two entities are representing us abroad? No, absolutely not. We need to get engaged. We need to promote what it is that we stand for in the world. We need to promote exchanges. We need to promote Iraqi groups like this and from other countries coming to our nation. In the 1950s, we had the foresight to lay the groundwork for some very important programs. We actually, the first one, we handed the keys to a group of Latin American journalists, gave them a rental car, and said, drive around the US. Today, it's one of the programs, perhaps the most effective one we have, for emerging leaders from around the world. Fulbright is one of them. It's a network of 90 organizations across the US with 38,000 American volunteers, over 800 exchange programs per year, and a roster of alumni that include 50 Nobel laureates and over 330 current or former heads of state. Just think about that for a moment. The best part is we're taking part in all of these programs right here in Cleveland, and we have been for decades. Here in our city, we're at the forefront of public diplomacy, people-to-people diplomacy, handshake diplomacy, meeting people, talking, getting to know each other. It's so incredibly important. At the Cleveland Council on World Affairs, we take part in a number of different programs. Exchange programs for adults, for youth, short-term, long-term. over 100 countries a year. One day we could have a governor from Afghanistan, the next day an artist from China, the next day a student from Iraq. You never know who you're going to meet with these programs. And the best part is, many of you in the audience have actually met with our groups before, because we take people into their homes, into their communities, into their places of work. And that's where we build these bridges of mutual understanding. Lincoln Electric, beach cleanups, the police. We're taking them all over. And in terms of impact, Cleveland needs money. These people spend money. They stay in our hotels. They eat in our restaurants. And trust me, they go shopping. We had a group here today. In 2 days, they went to the Aurora outlet malls twice, both days. They took a cab to Aurora. So that's very important. But on a deeper level, there's much more impact. We had a group from France listen to the distinguished gentleman of spoken word, a poetry group for at-risk youth. They were so inspired by what they heard, they're currently raising money to bring them to France so they can perform in Paris for Martin Luther King Day next year. And this is just one example of many, the ripple effect. It's the people-to-people diplomacy. We've had volunteers go and visit the people they hosted in other countries. We have opportunities like this of bringing them abroad. New schools were started. New organizations spearheaded. There's so many different things that are happening as a result of this program. And it's all built on relationships. Mansfield, you might recognize this guy. It's the key to everything is relationships. Not just, it's putting a face to America. Who are we? What are we about? What do we stand for? Share ideas, share culture, share how we want to change the world. What do we want this world to look like? And how can we do it together? We want to show people that America is not just New York. It's not DC. It's not California. It's this amalgam of cultures and personalities and people and passions. And it's all just mixed together. And we need to represent that. And that's what we do by bringing these groups to Cleveland. It's so important. Now, by now, I hope you're jazzed up, whether it's about Cleveland, about the US, about our programs, or just meeting someone cool from another country. And we actually have a way that you can do that and get involved in these programs called the Citizen Diplomat Program. Now, different ways to get involved can range from hosting someone for dinner, like this. Many of you have done this. It's just an emerging leader. You invite your friends and family, host someone for dinner, whether you want to make a business connection in Germany or you just want to visit Japan and want to meet someone from there to tell you where to go. We can help you set that opportunity up. Now, if you'd like to get a little bit more involved in that, you can host people in your home for a weekend or up to 2 weeks to give a full American immersion. And that's many of the host families are here, so thank you. And this is just, instead of putting them in hotels, we show what life in an average American home is like, if there is such a thing. Now, other opportunities, not for the faint of heart. If you really want to grab the bull by the horns, you can host an exchange student for a year. We have a special partnership with the U.S. Embassy in Pristina, Kosovo, where these students come here and go to high school for a year. And then they go back, and I can tell you, it changes their life forever. You can't overstate the impact that these programs have. And again, the point of this is really to highlight that diplomacy is not something that happens in a faraway place. It's happening right here in Cleveland. It's happening in our local communities. It's happening on the ground by talking to each other, by learning, by sharing best practices and ideas. It's so important that we do this. Now, I hope you're thinking, okay, I would like to change the world. How can I do that? Well, that's why the Cleveland Council on World Affairs exists. We want to bring the world to you because we're all in this together and we're all diplomats. Thank you.
How about another round of applause for Ryan and the Cleveland Council on World Affairs and the amazing work that they're doing. Thank you. Thank you for that. Next up, we have Julia Ferguson. Julia Ferguson joined Green Corps in 2009 as Midtown Farms Assistant Site Manager and became Fairfax Learning Farm Manager in 2011. As Green Corps' Education Manager, she is now responsible for curriculum development and instruction, Buckeye neighborhood outreach work, and the Green Corps Youth Advisory Council. Ms. Ferguson earned her master's degree in urban planning, design, and development from Cleveland State University. She worked on sustainability initiatives with several CSU offices and led successful campaigns to improve access to transportation and environmental awareness. Previously, she worked for Cincinnati civic and nonprofit organizations, focusing on program evaluation and community revitalization efforts. Julia Ferguson, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening. What happens when you employ 80 high school students on urban farms around Cleveland? The Cleveland Botanical Garden, through Green Corps, our flagship urban agriculture and community outreach program, has been doing that since 1996. The three cornerstones of Green Corps are growing youth, growing food, and growing Cleveland. The youth are at the center of it all. We see these people as the future. They are the future. Our students have the opportunity to not only learn about gardening, food, and nutrition, and the environment, but they also develop a great set of soft skills that will help them build their futures. They work on public speaking, resume building, interviewing, and leadership. They learn to grow, harvest, sell, and cook fresh and nutritious foods. They participate in weekly lessons on a wide range of topics, everything from plant and soil science to food economics and environmental issues like recycling and energy usage. And they also work to improve their communities. Our third-year students, it is a 3-year program, work with our staff to build school gardens at area charter and public schools. They do community outreach projects and beautifications. They build community gardens. They clean up neighborhoods. They're very proud of their work. And then in addition to doing a lot of community outreach and a lot of service, they also sell their food. So we go to several local farmers markets, and the students are really proud of their work. They relish the opportunity to tell you about the difference between curly kale and Toscano kale, between cilantro and parsley. We see the markets as multi-purpose. They not only offer an avenue for our abundant amount of fresh produce and give us an opportunity to bring a little revenue back into the program, but they are also an opportunity to sell produce at a very low cost in some of the Cleveland neighborhoods that need it the most. Meanwhile, students are learning about entrepreneurship, customer service, business development, marketing, everything that you could imagine from running a business. We started out in 1996. We'll be celebrating our 20th birthday next year, or 2 years from now. Yeah, very exciting. We're older than a lot of our students in the program. But you might recognize the Yellow House on Chester and East 66. This was our first site, started in 1996 with just a couple of students. We've grown abundantly since then. We now employ 20 students at that site this year. They're farming 1.5 acres of land in partnership with the Dunham Tavern Museum. And we're hosting community festivals. We've got one coming up on August 21st with farm tours and fresh food and music, pretty much everything that you can imagine should happen at a farm. It's a lot of fun, so I hope you can come out. Our Central Learning Farm was our second site. It was started in 2007. It's in a partnership with CMHA, Cuyahoga Metropolitan Housing Authority. So we built this half-acre farm actually on property that was once a school that had been razed after some shootings. Students at this site not only grow great food, they also do a lot of community outreach projects, and they did a Zydeco band at their recent open house, which was a lot of fun. Slavic Village started in 2008 with Slavic Village Development Corporation, is also a very small site. 1/3 of an acre, but a lot of apples and berries. The students have some great snacks while they're there. And it was the site of our first on-site farm stand. And then Fairfax, this one's very near and dear to my heart. We started this site in 2009. It is a half-acre. You would not believe the amount of produce that you can grow on a half-acre. It is incredible. The students here are a fantastic bunch, and they not only do their farm work in the garden every day, but they also go out to PNC Connections and some of the local daycares and teach the little kids about what they're doing. And then Buckeye Woodland Learning Farm, our youngest site. This one was started in 2010. We haven't expanded since then, but we're always looking at places to go. We do have hoop houses on this site, so our 20 students here have the opportunity to learn about season extension, seeding early and late in the season, doing everything from tomatoes and high tunnels to peppers and eggplants and winter crops through the cold season. And then we do all-season events, or all farm events. We bring our students together to learn about other career and college opportunities. This is Transitions Day last year. We'll be doing this again in a couple weeks. We do tug of war, but we also learn about resume building, interviewing, and things like that. And then we make salsa. Students love Salsa Week. It's an opportunity to bring everyone together. In a partnership with Tri-C and Rainbow Farms, we collect a lot of fresh produce grown locally. We go to Tri-C and we chop it, we dice it, we slice it. It's a lot of fun. You get really tired of cilantro after seeing and smelling 30 pounds of it, I'll tell you that. And then as we approach our 20th year, we're always looking at expanding. We're always looking at how we can continue to offer programs to engage children of all ages in Cleveland. So right now we're working on our school garden partnership. It's a budding partnership, if you pardon the pun, where we are looking at putting school gardens accessible for learning and engagement in every Cleveland public school eventually to help children of every age. We're also planning Youth Voices Conference this year. We'll be bringing youth from across the country in to talk about their experience working in gardening programs and engaging their communities in food and food access. Green Corps offers something for everyone. It's an opportunity for these students who may have an interest in bugs, who may have an interest in building things, who may want to learn more about marketing. There's something for everyone in this program to learn. I'm not the best advocate for it. Our students are. They are engaged citizens. They are compassionate. They are excited about the environment. They are the change makers. And they are very excited to tell you about what they are doing. So if you ever have the opportunity to come out to any one of our farms and visit, please do. It's a long list of locations. I can give them to you in a quicker format. You don't have to write them all down. We are at several area farmers markets, and our farms are always open for tours. They're great advocates. They love Swiss chard. They love kale. They love everything. They are excited. They are happy. So come out and see us and learn a little bit more about what Cleveland is doing in terms of urban farming and how these students are going to impact the future of our city and our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julia, for those comments. Next, I'd like to invite to the podium Ali Khalib, who is a 16-year-old from Baghdad. He loves video games and heavy metal. And he'll be joined by his colleague, Paige Anderson. She was born in Louisville, Kentucky, and moved to Cleveland when she was 6. She likes to sing and go out with friends, and they're going to share some of their thoughts with you on some political questions. So, thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Ali, this is Paige. Our presentation is kind of her 10 slides are about how the Arab nation is affecting other countries and what the problems with it, the thing that happened. And I'm gonna do my part, what's Arab nation doing for themselves? What is the problem in Middle East that they're doing for themselves?
During 9/11, the Al-Qaeda, a terrorist group, attacked the World Trade Center, both the North and South Towers, the Pentagon, and tried to kill the president, which instead went to Pennsylvania because of the braveness demonstrated by the passengers. This was not the first time the terrorist group attempted to attack the World Trade Center. As a result, 3,000 American citizens were killed from the attacks. It attacked our way of life, damaged the economy in Lower Manhattan, closed Wall Street, and made people scared of shopping or flying, since airports had to be shut down just in case another terrorist attack would happen. The U.S. wanted to attack to get revenge on the Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. An important note is that the U.S. didn't want to attack its people, but it had to find the terrorist group, which was hiding in caves in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and did a pretty good job for 10 years. The good things about this war, the Afghanistan war, is that Osama bin Laden is now dead, and troops could build schools for children, including 2 schools for girls and 6 other schools, which opened in 2011. But the Afghans felt our presence caused disruption. According to Mr. Kristof from the New York Times in 2004, sending more troops to Pashtun in Pakistan areas caused people to help the Taliban in repelling the U.S., not because more U.S. troops were being sent there, but because they wanted to prove that the Taliban was right. They felt that the Taliban's actions were cruel, but they were honest versus the President Karzi's issues. This is about the Iraq War. President Bush thought that Saddam Hussein had huge piles of weapons of mass destruction, and he thought he was involved in 9/11. Unfortunately, this claim was wrong. There are only a few hundred chemical weapons, but not the same as what Bush described as the weapons of mass destruction. When we went to Iraq, people believed that we didn't understand the culture and we inflicted their way of life, according to Professor Gordon Adams from American University. Although the benefit is that now that Saddam Hussein is out of power, and Iraq has a form of democracy, many Americans, 71% to be exact, believe that this was a mistake, according to a recent poll in 2014. When the U.S. tried to put the Shia majority in power, the Sunnis felt like they weren't being represented, and it gave the al-Qaeda the chance to fight the Shia majority, since less attention was given during this time to Afghanistan. Also, the Shia government would have to ask Iraq for help, but the problem is that the people call it a Shia theocracy. And because of the government, surrounding countries can look at this as a way to expand their influence. Also, Islamic jihadists are now in control of the area of Iraq, plunging the country into the worst crisis since the withdrawal of U.S. troops in 2011. A lot of people from different parties, Republican, Democrat, Independent, believe that there should have been a softer presence in both areas, or they felt that there should have been military at all. They also thought that maybe they should have covered Afghanistan first separately and also handled things in Iraq when the Afghanistan war was done.
Most of people say that other countries ruin the Middle East, like Iran, US, UK, and as long as they keep pressuring them, Arabs cannot be united as one great nation. But tell me, in what way the US or Iran are stopping the Arabs from uniting? The Middle East can reunite whenever they can, but they don't like. This is the problem here. If I have one message I'm trying to deliver here, is this. The only thing that's stopping us from uniting is us. The US cannot control the killings and murder of their own country. Some of the countries that are against that don't even pay their bills by their citizens. They can't stop Lebanese being together. They can't stop Iraqi being together, but with Syria and Lebanon. They cannot stop the Kurds and Arabic being together, living peacefully in Iraq. They cannot stop us at all. Only us are stopping ourselves being together. And as long as Arabs will sit in coffee shops, smoking hookahs, blaming the ISIS, the Qaeda, the other countries, we will always be divided. And as long as we're divided, we are weak. And as long as we're weak, they will steal our wealth. It's not rocket science. We don't need Einstein to work it out. Unity is strength. If we could only stop thinking like Sunni and Shia, like Arab or Kurdish, like left and right, if we could only stop thinking like that, we are 350 million people who can speak the same language and worship one God. In Europe, they speak 150 languages and they're all still together. Imagine the strength that we could have if we come together. But as long as we sit and blame other people, we will not be united, so we will be divided. And as long as we're divided, they will steal our fortunes. They don't care if you're Sunni or Shia. Let's go to one foreign parliament and ask the difference between it. They don't care. They will never know. They don't care if you pray. They don't care if you fast. They don't care about your religion at all. They just like us, seeing us getting divided. They like it if we fight against each other. If we keep fighting against each other, we're not fighting them. We're allowing them to steal our oil, our gas, our nature, our rights. We're allowing them to rob us from which that God gave us. For this is that we can find within ourselves. The only message I'm trying to deliver here, that Arab can be one big great nation, and the only thing that's stopping ourselves is us.
Wow, what an amazing and very eye-opening presentation. I learned so much. Thank you so much, Ali and Paige. Our next speaker is Dan Nolan. As Regional Employment Manager for Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities, Dan has worked to develop and support employment opportunities for people with disabilities. training, job seeking, and on-the-job support have been used to employ people in many jobs areas. 5 years ago, with the economy tanking, a small group of staff set about the task of not looking and asking for jobs, but instead focused on job creation. While Cleveland Crops didn't invent urban agriculture, it happily rides the wave of employment opportunities in growing and processing healthy food. Dan.
Thank you. Good evening. I love being here at the Citadel of Free Speech. I just have to say that. So Cleveland Crops is not just about Cleveland, but it's about the whole county. We're part of the Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities. We serve people across the county, and developmental disabilities affects all types of people, different economic ranges, different races, all kinds of people. What we're trying to do is serve anyone who's eligible and let them learn skills that will let them help themselves. So it is your tax dollars at work, and I have to tell you, we're trying to do it very efficiently. We want to make sure that we give you your money's worth. Some of the things we've done is taken over properties that were abandoned or not worthwhile in any way. The greenhouse that you see here is actually the parking lot, former parking lot of the Hofbrauhaus. Anyone remember that restaurant, the Hofbrauhaus, over 55th and Superior? So we built right on their parking lot a 15,000 square feet greenhouse. Someone else mentioned about season extension, one of the other growers. Season extension is a key to what we're doing. The greenhouse, although it might be modest by industry standards, it's a big deal to us. We're glad to have that much space. It was the first way that we could work through the winter. So everyone involved in our training and employment is employed and involved throughout the year, 12 months of the year. You see people working right in the soil in traditional farming methods with raised beds. This is right at our first farm at Standard Farm, right over there at 55th and St. Clair Superior. This one is from Ohio City. We're spread all the way across the county. We try and put people in assignments that are as close to their homes as possible. It's more efficient for transportation, and it's just kind of easier. What you see there is what I call the $1 million view. Everybody likes to come up to Ohio City and take pictures of that skyline from there. We use some innovative methods and a lot of traditional ones. These guys, I think, are stringing tomato strings, aren't they, Dave? Hope so. We have staff here tonight. Thanks for your support. So yeah, we try and put people as close to home as possible. That's Ohio City again. Ohio City is an interesting place. If you've seen it, it's got a lot of media attention, including the Amish plow team that came and helped them break ground right there. It's behind the Riverview Estates over at 25th by Bridge. And all that property used to be where a housing project was. When they built the high-rise, they tore down the old one. And because it's federally owned, they had to remediate the soil, which means we went in and hit the jackpot. It's probably one of the most productive spots that we have, even though it's not one of our biggest. Our properties range in size and location. You can see some of these are starting with pretty rough land. What comes cheap is not great land usually. This one is over at 105th near Superior, where housing was before. You can see what sort of things they pull out of there. Sometimes people would say, we found everything but the kitchen sink. In that last slide, they found the kitchen sink. Besides the materials that you saw there really are plumbing things. This is a foggy day on the free stamp. Can you see the free stamp there in the background? We're in the lawn on City Hall where we've put in that demonstration garden with the help of volunteers, as you see here. We had people from Cleveland Indians corporate office come out, no ball players, but executives came out and their families and helped us break the ground and plant plants. That's another one that surprised us. It's really little. It's not even hardly a fraction of an acre, the part that we've grown. I hope you've seen it. But it's real productive. They grow a lot of herbs and things there. We try and pick ugly vegetables so people won't steal them. We probably wouldn't put tomatoes or peppers right there because there's a lot of walk by. And there you can see kind of a proud moment for us. We like it when the mayor's happy, we're happy. And the city's really been a supporter. This picture is taken in our kind of our newest endeavor, which is beyond the 8 farms that we're working. We now have a processing kitchen. We've had a lot of generous support from the board itself and from outside supporters as well. So now when we grow our own food, and you may have an abundance of something at one time, it won't go to waste because we're going to be able to process on our own and more or less turn the abundant harvest into shelf-stable projects or products. Sorry. It also raises the value of them. So as we bring up the value, we can make more money. The money we make pays the wages, and that keeps our program going. As you can see, we'll do all kinds of things to keep those guys busy and make money. This is over in Rocky River a couple years ago, selling Christmas trees. So yeah, the processing kitchen is a huge thing for us, and we see it as a way to like our own sustainability. We'll sell cut flowers along with vegetables. We'll sell our processed products. We're also offering to process things for other people. So if there's a small or medium grower who wants to do a recipe but doesn't have the facilities, what we do have is labor. We're all about labor. We're all about job training and people being busy. So we're working with people to bring their things to us. And in this step, which they call co-packing, we'll be glad to take in their product. We have a certified kitchen. We can prepare it, label it, package it, send it back to the inventor of it, and they can sell it where they want to sell it. I think that we started with just selling right over the counter, doing farm stands. Now we've been fortunate to sell directly to restaurants, and we're making little inroads into the value-added products and shelf-stable products. We think all of this is going to lead to more employment. Right now we have 50 people. We've rotated through some of them. What we picture is that people will come and go and move on to more independent employment through our program. Thank you.
How about another round of applause for Dan? Dan, you have to let me know where the Christmas trees are sold. I'll buy my next Christmas tree from you guys. So, next up, right before we get to our last presenter before the break, I want to encourage all of you to, at the break, to please buy a bottle of beer or a glass of wine from the City Club. The City Club generously provides this space to the Cleveland Council on World Affairs and to Pachaccha for free. It's a beautiful space. It's a time-honored tradition to be here and to talk about ideas and to present free speech. Please take a second and buy a bottle of beer and a glass of wine. That would really help us support them. So thanks again. Next up, we have James Krause. James Krause brings an eclectic background of art, technology, and business to Ingenuity. He spearheads the organization's programming, planning, and implementation. He's responsible for overseeing Ingenuity's curatorial process, creating partnerships with artists, business, and institutions, and overseeing the organization's communication efforts. Krause is also an author, director, and playwright who has worked with technology companies as a new media consultant. After working in New York and London, Krause returned to his awesome hometown of Cleveland to complete a book project, explore new methods of communication, and concentrate on artistic and technological projects. Mr. Krause holds degrees from Ohio University and from the Yale School of Drama. James Krause.
Okay, great. Sure I'm supposed to look at here. So the 10th annual Ingenuity Fest is coming up in September. And in 10 years, Ingenuity has grown from a festival production to a year-round organization. And if you've ever been to any of our events, whether it's a maker fair or to one of the Ingenuity Fests, there is this kind of vaudeville bent to the whole thing. And even though it's a festival of art and technology, some people look at this and they get a little bit confused. It's like, well, why the vaudeville? What's that about? And I think that if you look at what vaudeville was about historically, it was about, what you're seeing here, entertainment and kind of a clownish behavior. But it's also about people like P.T. Barnum and Edison introducing new forms of technology to people. And at Ingenuity Fest, some of that comes through music. And you've got artists like this who are adopting new forms of technology, but then incorporating more traditional forms of music. And you see that kind of exchange and that kind of contradiction. You also kind of see this, more traditional rock and roll. And we're all familiar with what rock music is all about. It's about sort of primal, getting down to the roots and kind of losing your cerebral self. But it's also about people adopting technology. You've got people like Hendrix and Les Paul and even Justin Bieber on YouTube. So you've got that tradition. At Ingenuity, we also have this, which is Tesla coils shooting 10-foot lightning bolts out over Lake Erie. And it's the same kind of kind of visceral reaction to technology. This isn't a computer sitting on your desk. It's something big and scary. And I think that you also have this kind of obsession. It's almost a generational obsession with all things 1900, handlebar mustaches and tweed suits. And I think it goes beyond just yearning for a simpler time, and it's harkening back to a time of showmanship and stunt work. And again, back to the time of P.T. Barnum. And really where vaudeville gets together is something in what we've found in the maker culture. So you also have things like this, 3D printing and open source processing, right next to artisanal pickles and handmade shoes and things like that. And producing a maker fair introduced us to this whole new tribe of creative people that called themselves makers. And they really are a tribe. In some ways we kind of looked at the future and thought, well, it's all going to be gleaming and neat and tidy. Think about like replicators on Star Trek. But the way it's kind of turned out is that technology is more exposed. The wires are kind of out there, and it's sort of slow and messy. And makers are obsessed with not only like a celebration of doing new things, but looking at how things are done. There's also a commercial element to the whole thing. There's always money to be made from a movement. So we ask, how do we monetize a movement like this, and how do we bring value to society? How do we sell 3D printers to people? And 3D printing in the maker culture is it's a bit of a controversial topic, because in some ways that movement is all about how we understand technology and take it apart. But there's other people that are like, I want to download a pair of sunglasses and print it out on my desk. So it's kind of a new way of shopping. And if you think about how vaudeville was co-opted by Hollywood, you see that same kind of a relationship. In the maker movement, there's also this kind of subversive side to it. Here you see a kid learning how to lockpick at the maker fair at the Cleveland Public Library. And some people are terrified by this idea. Like, my God, you're teaching young people to lockpick. What are you doing? But it's really about teaching people, how the mechanics of technology works and kind of learning how to learn. Another aspect of it is glass blowing. These guys are sort of known for illegal drug use and creating implements to consume illegal drugs. But they also want to get out and kind of show how they do this, and they're hit with a lot of fire codes and a lot of discouragement from the fire department. And I think, are we afraid of the flames, or are we afraid of the process? There's another way that it's subversive in that, we're teaching people how to make things as opposed to just how to shop for things. And I think that is subversive in a culture that really celebrates shopping. And so, vaudeville really does, a great job of being a sort of the greatest show and tell on earth, that has no commercial purpose. The only reason it exists is to intrigue and amaze and provoke and to share. And it's this new vaudeville that it really kind of does have a purpose, because it generates excitement and curiosity around technology and encourages us to welcome it in. And so when people come to Ingenuity and the Maker Fair, they're not just learning how to solder or lockpick, they're learning how to learn, and they're adopting new ways of thinking and doing. And in a day and age when we can't change a battery in our cell phone or the oil in our car, people are learning how to understand technology and truly own it and then celebrate it. There's some examples from the schools, the MC Squared Fab Lab and some of the Fab Lab movements around Cleveland and really around the country. These are exposing young people to technologies and really showing them how to make things and demonstrating how they make things. But it's not enough just to show people how to do things. You've got to give them a platform to celebrate what they're doing. And on the commercial side, you've got a company like Kent Display, which is an Ohio company, and yeah, they're selling boogie boards, but they're also kind of opening up their technology at a place like Ingenuity Fest or a Maker Faire, and kind of letting people play with it. And I think these last 3 slides are really they're special to me because it doesn't show the technology; it shows the people and the reacting to it. And I think this is just as important as anything else. When we think about how we're adopting technology and how we're celebrating technology, we're really about amazing people. And I think this photograph is really interesting in particular because it really looks old to me. This is from the Cleveland Public Library, and it looks like a train station from the 1920s if you picture this in black and white. And I think that this public gathering of people and exchanging ideas, it's so rare today. And we need to create those environments like this where people are getting together. This is inside the Voix de Ville, which means voice of the city. It was a joint project between Ingenuity and Pinch and Squeal, a local vaudeville team. And when you see people reacting to a space like this, when we create a space where people can get excited about technology and about culture and gather around it, then we've really done something. Thanks very much.
Wow, so we've heard some really great presentations in the first half. Thank you to everyone, the Iraqi Young Leadership Exchange Program students, Ryan Roulet with the Cleveland Council on World Affairs, Julia Ferguson with the Cleveland Botanical Gardens Green Corps program, James Krause of the upcoming Ingenuity Fest, and Dan Nolan with the Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities. There's still a lot to come. Leonard Jones with Edwin's Leadership Institute, Johnny Wu of the Cleveland Asian Festival, Jessica Wallace, the woman who brought ballet back to Cleveland, Mansfield Fraser, founder of Chateau Huff, and more from our Iraqi Young Leadership Exchange Program students. So we're going to take a break. So everyone grab a drink, beer, glass of wine, about 10 to 15 minutes, and we're going to come back with some more amazing presentations. Thanks.
Who's? Kumar? I can find out for you. I know there's no way I can do it from here, but I can find out for you. You're welcome. I don't know. I have no idea. He might be buying a beer. Let's take about 2 more minutes, and then we'll get back in our seats. 2 minutes. Thank you. did at the beginning. Does Malin not know what he looks like? Against the wall. Do you want to go?
Good. All right.
We look very official this year.
All right, everyone. If we could have everyone take their seats. If we could have everyone take their seats. There's a couple seats up front, so I see a couple people standing in the back. If you want to come sit up front, we have lots of seats available. We'd love for you to get up close and personal to the action. My name is Emily Bach, and I'm part of the Pachachka Night Cleveland creative team, and wanted to welcome you all. I wasn't here for the official welcome, so this is a great event. Thank you again to the City Club for hosting us, as well as the Cleveland Council on World Affairs for helping us put together such a wonderful night. I'm going to bring up Madeline. She's going to introduce our next set of presenters.
Our next presentation is also a dual presentation. We're going to hear from Bobby, who is 14 years old, from Cleveland. He goes to West Geauga High School, plays varsity hockey, and he also plays the guitar in a band. He will be joined by Alufa. She is from Baghdad. She is 16, likes math, biology, and chemistry. Not my favorite subjects. And she would like to be a pharmacist one day. And they're going to share their thoughts with you. Thank you.
Hi everyone.
Well, first we'd like to say that he didn't get the recognition. Yasir, he helped us out a lot with this. Give a round of applause for him. In this presentation, we're comparing the poverty in Iraq and the poverty in America. 46.2 million U.S. citizens are living in poverty. This is 15% of the population. We have a higher poverty rate than 22 other developed nations in the Western Hemisphere.
So this photo talks about how childhood is difficult in Iraq, and there are many Iraqi children who live on streets because their houses get destroyed by war and their families died by terrorist groups.
The main causes of poverty and homelessness include substance abuse, expensive housing, mental illness, and just unemployment. 22% of kids grow up below the poverty line. This is generated from parents already struggling to stay afloat financially, then adding the expenses that kids produce, such as food, clothing, and more bills to pay. This is a picture of just an example of higher poverty rates. 75% of American land is rural. This generates more poverty from there's more people living in these areas, so there's more poverty in them. And but the urban areas in America, those are more densely poor. So the more people in there are more people who are poor per like square foot, I guess. 40% of homeless. Oh wait, never mind. There are 49 million U.S. citizens who suffer from food insecurity, which is the fear of not having enough food to feed yourself and your family. 20% of homes with kids suffer from this. 40% of homeless males are veterans. I think this is outrageous because they fought for our country and now they can't afford to live comfortably in it, and I don't think that's right. There is, from greatest to least, the states with the most food insecurity are Arkansas, Texas, Alabama, North Carolina, Georgia, Missouri, Nevada, Ohio, and California. An attempt to fix the poverty could be raise the minimum wage, seeing as though most people in poverty work minimum wage jobs if they in fact they work at all. And this picture shows how the difference between the rich and the poor is staggering, and that he could take a blow from his $20,000 an hour.
This photo talks about how childhood is difficult in Iraq, and there are many Iraqi children who live on streets because their houses get destroyed by war and their families die by the terrorist groups. And they also work to get money for to stay alive and study at the same time to ensure good future for themselves and their country, because we are, they and we are the future of Iraq. So they live in a bad places between the trash and insects, so they get sick and might die. So I think, and I'm sure it's from the government's responsibility to provide good homes with less prices for them. And as you see, they are looking for food from dirty places. This is so injustice, because as an Iraqi citizen, they have the right to live a good life, because we are a human.
And there's and in Iraq, the government, unlike in America, there's no welfare programs. They don't have social security. And from the wars that have been occurring there, like the Iraq War and Desert Storm and things like that, the amount of children in poverty is incredible, because the government isn't helping them out with programs, because they've got to fix up areas like Baghdad, which has been left just annihilated.
There are more than 3 million Iraqi students who are receiving education in the worst places ever. It's built by clay and palm leaves with no windows and no air conditioners. So that's so hard for them. And there are a lot of poor children in all the world, not just in Iraq, who get their water from dirty places, like streets or the other bad places. One of the reasons of poverty in Iraq is the money which spent by the government and their own needs, and like surgeries, traveling, and by their own the most beautiful and expensive houses, while there are a lot of problems need to solution, because that's our right as an Iraqi citizen.
And poverty has affected areas like that all over, where in poor areas it's substandard education, substandard health care, and the housing is even bad. Like in this picture, a kid is living in basically a wasteland, and that's all he can afford. But in Iraq it's even worse, because they don't have any parents or any safety net to help them. And I think that's a problem everywhere, but it's extreme in places like this. And
like this photo, there's a lot of children who eat from this street, from the land. That will a bad thing for them.
And yeah, and that results in like that amount of those standards of living result in bad, like they obviously become unhealthy from drinking dirty water and stuff, and they can't afford to fix it because their parents are dead, so they don't have insurance, and they just have no health care, and that's the effects of poverty in areas like Iraq and in the USA to an extent. Thank you.
I think that there's probably been a lot of discussions over the last 10 days about the conditions in Iraq and America and what similarities there are. And while it's sad that we discuss poverty and the similarities between the two countries, I think our students would attest that there's probably a lot of knowledge sharing of how we can fix those problems and make better nations for both. Good job. Very, very thought-provoking. Our next presenter is Leonard Jones from Edwins. Leonard Jones is a Clevelander born and raised. He has worked at a variety of Cleveland restaurants, from Fagan's to Shooters, starting as a dishwasher and working his way up to sauté chef. Currently, Leonard is a student at Edwins. He plans to open a restaurant featuring a menu that showcases his diverse cooking roots. Come on up, Leonard.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Leonard Jones. I am currently a student at Edwins Leadership and Restaurant Institute in Shaker Square. I am here today to give you a glimpse of how life has changed in the past few months for me. As you know, with every bad decision comes consequences. The very first time I ever got in trouble, I was convicted of a felony. It was pretty much downhill after that. Bad decisions after bad decisions led me back to jail. I wasn't able to have steady employment to provide for my family. I was trying to be the best father I could be, but with the felonies following me, there were no opportunities pretty much for me. Although I felt alone, I wasn't. No matter what, my family stood behind me, so I felt like I had to make a change. And I started with my way of thinking. The prison system is full of people who made bad decisions. Over the past 25 years, Ohio prison population has more than doubled, and it shows no sign of slowing down. It seems to be increasing at a steady pace. Nearly 1 in 3 men and women have been previously incarcerated return within 3 years. There are many reasons for returning: lack of jobs, decision makings, lack of resources and opportunity, poverty, and a lack of housing. The list goes on. But despite all this, I still found a way to make it happen. It was only 5 months ago I was unable to find steady employment. My life turned around when I met a man started talking to me about passages. I asked, "What is passages?" He said, "A place that helped men like you and me who's down on their luck." Passage is one of many organizations under the Father Initiative program. While there, I heard about Edwins and their mission about an opportunity to earn second chances. I thought to myself, this is something I need to further look into. So I applied, I interviewed, and was able to hear firsthand from students who were passionate and full of life with similar backgrounds as myself. I was able to let down my guard and take in something new. They explained that the program was hard work, but promising. I found it to be something new and interesting. The different types of cheeses and wines sparked my interest. I felt like everything around me was changing for the better. My family was proud of me. I was proud of myself for a first time in a long time. At Edwins, I have learned about French cooking, food running, hosting, serving, and my next step is bartending. They really show you every aspect of running a restaurant. What makes the program unique is the fact that we are given a set of tools that we can take with us. But no matter what set of tools you are given, it is all on you to put them tools to work and make it happen. What I mean by making it happen is this: students deal with issues that are outside the culinary world, such as problems with housing, homelessness, attorney fees, counseling, probation violations, and parole hearings. Every night at the restaurant, we're faced with overwhelming odds, so there's no room for failure. But together we are able to overcome them. The staff help us, provide us with assistance with all these issues. Somehow, they still find a way to successfully run a restaurant. Before Edwin's, I felt like the opportunities were scarce. Now I have the opportunity to lead teams in the Silver Spoon Awards, the Food Bank, the Jewish Center. There have been articles written about me and my experiences at Edwin's in the Belt magazine, the Current magazine. I also had the privilege to give back to our youth and speak with them about making bad decisions. That was very important to me because growing up, I didn't have that positive male role model to lead me down the right path. Now I have the ability to lead others on the right path through hard work and determination and a vision of something better. I am confident now that the sky is the limit. In closing, I would like to say it's a privilege and an honor to be here today standing in front of you all. I also would like to thank my loving family and friends over at Edwin's, and a special thanks to my man B, everybody else know him as Brandon, for believing in me and giving me the opportunity to show my true potential. And if you leave here remembering nothing else tonight, please remember that everyone, I mean everyone, deserves a second chance. Thank you.
How about another round of applause for Leonard and his amazing story? Thank you, Leonard. Before we move on, I'd like to just let everybody know Emily, who came up here earlier, was the one who put this whole thing together. So can we get a round of applause for Emily Baca? Thank you. Next up, we have Johnny Wu. Johnny K. Wu, a veteran filmmaker with an MBA, is the co-founder of the Cleveland Asian Festival, which will be heading into its 6th year in 2015. The Cleveland Asian Festival has been named as the fastest growing festival in Northeast Ohio by the Plain Dealer and by other publications. Mr. Wu will be talking about the festival's beginnings and about their future. Johnny Wu.
Good evening. So I'm gonna be do this a little bit fast and with my Spanish Speedy Gonzalez speech for you guys. We started this festival idea in 2009 where we were working on the OCA Image TV. It was a very popular show and we thought about this should be a way to expand it more to the public. So we wanted to do something to bring everybody together into the Asian town. So we started the Cleveland Asian Festival. There's 4 goals here for the festival. Is first is to bring economic growth to the neighborhood, to bring diversity together, to celebrate Asian Pacific Heritage Month, and to work together as a united group, as a Cleveland Asian community. So that it's 4, and then we can add it now in the future to add additional more to enhance the environment. We have some challenges. We have a lot of people who doesn't believe that this is going to be possible. So we beg all our friends and families to be sponsors and volunteer all their times and possible to make the possible festival. So you see there right now on the screen the basic starting point where the festival started. And of course, we need to promote the festival. It's only going to be 1 day for the first year. So we put together quickly a little postcard and pass it around all of the places. However, that was not the official poster. We wanted to have the general public to have a perceive what they think about the Asian festival. So we asked one of my good friend, Jesse Smith, to design the first poster for the Cleveland Asian Festival. As you can notice in the poster, everything there has a reason for it. The bamboo means the friendship, the koi fish means good luck and abundance, the color tone, everything has to be the way that's supposed to be for the Asian community. So Jesse did a really, really wonderful job for the first 3 years. And so other than having a poster out of the market, we want to be able to promote the festival. So we participate at the St. Patrick's Parade, the Glenview Festival, And also we were all over the TV news to talk about the festival itself, how we can bring it together. We were the only group of representatives at the St. Patrick Parade to do the be colorful. We don't have any floor plan for the festival, so we quickly put together a what they call blueprint from the Asia Plaza and just put everything up there. And this is what we show to the public, that this is how the festival started. We only have the Asia Plaza, which is this heart of Asia Town, and then the Payne Avenue area. And because it's only one-day event, we had to put together 2 stages of performances. So we asked every organization in the Asian community to come out and perform something for us. We managed to pull together a very packed full performance listing, as you can see over there, and the crowd got together really well, and everybody had a good time for it. So the first year, one-day event, 10,000 people showed up. Under 1.7 million people, money has been spent that weekend at the Asia Community Center area. It was really well received, and we thought, well, maybe it's the time for us to expand into 2 days event instead of 1 day. However, we need to find out more about what we can do better. So we sent out a survey via email to everybody we know, and presented our result at a appreciation dinner for all the volunteers and sponsors. Obviously, you can see over there, there's a 1% of people didn't like the festival and overall. Just because the first time we did this, we didn't figure out how to get everybody parking issues concern covered. But second year on, we have free parking, but we didn't figure it out the first time. Of course, some people also complained about the weather was too hot or it was raining. Unfortunately, I cannot do anything about that. But overall, the festival was a success. Everybody enjoyed a great time. They thought about the organization was really great, even though we have a lot of things to do better for the future. For that aspect, we started second year with 2 days event, trying to make it much more interesting and dynamic for the community. We want to expand more to the Asia Plaza. However, that's the heart of the Asia Town community, so we decided to stick around that area for a little bit longer. So for the second year, we have more people participate as a committee. This is all volunteers. Nobody got paid to do anything this, even till today. So you can see our volunteer committee listing enhanced, and we also want to promote more into the Indian community. So we have Lotus design a poster, again done by J.C. Smith. He did a really great job. Our sponsor increased. Everybody want to be part of this 2 days event now, and we also brought in a national performing artist, Da Fang. He's a very well-known comedian, and we got fortunate enough that happened to be Yan Chang was there in that area, so she came along. She is from the Disney movie Prom. If anybody see Disney movie, I don't, so I wouldn't know. Okay, anyway, so here we got better. We learned to do our own design for the mapping. We also expanded over to Warwick Communication parking lot thanks to their sponsorship support. All the blue colors are non-food vendors. All the oranges are food vendors. The yellow are the children's section, and then we have 2 stages. We'll pack it out with all the performances that you can see there. There's all type of performance by every type sort of Asian community ethnic groups. You name one, we have it there. Well, kind of have it there. But it was a very packed, very compact, exciting 2 days event. The result, 31,000 people showed up. And we were named, we won an award for promoting the community. Well, as you can see in the picture, we also have a egg roll eating competition. If you guys want to do it next year, feel free to do so. It's very exciting. It's fun to do. We have videos online too, so you can check it out. So with that, as I said, we already had a mold of how to move forward. We just continue the same package mold that we had for the model of the business for second year and for the third year and fourth year. Third year again, J.C. Smith did a wonderful poster for the design. The fourth year, we have lanterns. None of those lanterns are Chinese-based. We had to go over to the South Asia countries to promote in that cultural perspective. So for this year, we have reached out to the 5th year of the festival, brought in 37,000 people. And the model is very, very simple and very easy to follow through. So we got a little bit lazier. So hey, we deserve a break, right? For next year, we are going a little bit more. We want to do more to the community by having poster banners all over the Asian Town neighborhood. And we're going to have our own lights at Dragoness. And hopefully see you guys over there too, please. Thank you.
Okay, Okay, thank you for that very interesting insight into the Cleveland Asia Festival. That's a wonderful segue actually into our next presenter, who is also working in the arts. Jessica Wallace is the founding director of ballet in Cleveland. She holds undergraduate and master's degrees from the University of Akron and is an adjunct professor at both the University of Akron and Kent State University. Jessica was granted a Top 25 Under 35 award by the Cleveland Professional 2030 Club and was a Woman to Know for the Cleveland Women's Journal in 2013. Since beginning ballet in Cleveland in 2012, Jessica has brought some of the best dancers in the world to Cleveland, namely Ashley Boder, principal ballerina with the New York City Ballet, and Misty Copeland, the first African-American principal dancer in American ballet theater history. So let's welcome Jessica.
I want to ask you, why are you saving? When Melinda Roy left home at the age of 12 to study at the School of American Ballet, she never knew that falling, literally falling, at the feet of George Balanchine, the founder of the New York City Ballet and one of the most prestigious ballet companies in the world, falling at his feet is what would finally capture his attention for real. One day in class, Miss Roy came across the floor in a giant assemblée, which is a jump in which the dancer takes off and their legs assemble in the air. "Stop," Balanchine said. "Why are you saving? Why aren't you jumping?" "Oh, well, I thought I was," she said, "but I'm sorry, I'll try again." And she came down the floor about 5 different times, and every time he said, "No, that's not what I want." So she was angry at this point, and so she used that fire in her belly to came across the stage, and as soon as she went to take off, she slipped and she fell right at his feet, and she looked up at him, and he said, "That's right, dear, that's what I want." Balanchine, the greatest choreographer of our time, who was never about saving, said, "Why are you stingy with yourselves? Why are you holding back? What are you saving for? For another time? There are no other times. There is only right now." Balanchine didn't worry about what was traditional, conventional, or what would be considered stupid or even downright silly. In 1941, he asked composer Igor Stravinsky about a plan. He said, "I'd like you to do a little ballet with me." Stravinsky asked, "For whom?" "For some elephants," Balanchine said. "How old?" Stravinsky asked. "Oh, very young." "All right, if they are young elephants, I'll do it." Speaking of young, Balanchine chose 16-year-old Suzanne Farrell as his muse. He was 58. Farrell's big break came when she was a last-minute replacement in a ballet that he was staging also with Stravinsky. After rehearsal, Balanchine introduced her to him. "Igor, meet Suzanne Farrell, just been born." He latched on to her and her youth and her beauty. Balanchine loved women. "Ballet is woman," he said. He loved beautiful things. He used to take Suzanne to look at the jewels in Van Cleef and Arpels in New York City. His fascination with jewels went so far that he choreographed a ballet, a masterpiece ballet, aptly named Jewels, and he put his muse, Suzanne Farrell, in the role of diamonds. Yes, diamonds. You've heard of the phrase, diamonds in the rough? Well, there's one in this story. In July of 2012, I was preparing to quit my job. I was leaving financial stability and everything I had known for the past 8 years, but I heard the voice of Balanchine. There is only right now. An email from someone named Ashley Boder solidified that sentiment. "I'd love to start a conversation with you about bringing a group of dancers to perform in Cleveland. Looking forward to hearing back." What? I thought. This is Ashley Boder. She is arguably the best and most dynamic ballerina in the country, and she is contacting me? That email sealed the deal for me. I would quit my career and my professional unhappiness, and I would live for right now as Balanchine had instructed. What was I saving for anyway? Ashley Boder had found a diamond in the rough, and that is Cleveland. Even though neither Ashley nor myself were interested in saving, great things sometimes do take time. In November of 2013, Ashley was finally on a plane to Cleveland. Here, she taught classes to over 200 students in ballet. Like Balanchine, she held no qualms with correction. "You're not showing me what I want," she said in class. Through her comments to these students of dance comprising the next generation of professional dancers, she spoke to them in the language of the legend in whose company she stars. It was time to solidify plans to put that star power on a Cleveland stage. Through the winter months, a vision took shape and a project was born. In January 2014, the Ohio Theater at Playhouse Square, the second largest performing arts complex in the nation, second only to Lincoln Center, was booked to showcase the Ashley Bowder Project, an expose on ballet style. And my company, Ballet in Cleveland, is presenting that ballet. The same creative synergy that resulted from the collective genius of Balanchine and Stravinsky all those years ago has been reborn in Cleveland in a new generation of artists who didn't save and didn't wait for that right moment. They just did. Reminiscent of the highly innovative collaborations of Balanchine and Stravinsky, Joshua Beamish and principal dancer Ashley Bowder decided that the music would be Dmitri Shostakovich. In November of 1944, Shostakovich's Piano Trio No. 2 debuted in Leningrad, and in October of 2014, almost exactly 70 years to the date of its premiere, the piece will premiere again, but this time in Cleveland. Just as George Balanchine gleaned inspiration from the jewels showcased at Von Cleef and Arpels, Ashley Bowder took it from the world of high fashion. Extensively featured in Sarah Jessica Parker's online series, City Ballet, she walked the red carpet in a stunning design. "I'm wearing B. Michael," she stated with a gleam in her eye. So Bowder and her team decided to take the fashion couture onto the ballet stage, and B. Michael's ballet fashion costume designs will debut in Cleveland. The Ashley Bowder project will prove worthy of any jewel in Balanchine's Van Cleef and Arpels jewel box. The abandon of all those involved to jump and not save, and to, as it were, take a jeté of faith into this artistic endeavor, proves worthy of the right now sentiment that was George Balanchine's way of life. It took falling on the floor for Melinda Roy to show the risk that Balanchine truly requested of his dancers. When Ashley Bowder, pictured here, was 16 and making her debut at Lincoln Center with the New York City Ballet, she fell flat on her face. I can say with conviction that from above, Balanchine was saying, "That's right, dear. That's what I want."
What a fantastic presentation. Thank you, Jessica. Our final presenter for this evening is no stranger to the Pachachka stage, so we welcome back Mansfield Frazier. He's a native Clevelander whose work as print and radio journalist appears weekly on the Daily Beast, Cool Cleveland, and coolcleveland.com. He hosts a radio program on WTAM. In addition, he's a vintner who built the vineyard at Chateau Huff. Coming up, Mansfield.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. If my mother were alive, she would believe it. This woman, this lovely woman, said one amazing thing. She said, "You shouldn't have to move to live in a better neighborhood." Think about that. She lived in the Bronx, New York, and her area where she was living was a dumping ground for large chemical companies. They were poisoning the water that the children in her neighborhood was drinking. She said, "I shouldn't have to move." What she'd done is she started changing things. And Cleveland caught on to that. They started reimagining Cleveland. And Lila Zartner, my friend there, was head of Reimagining Cleveland when we got a grant to build a vineyard. Our vision was to create Cleveland into a green city by a blue lake. How do you reinvent? How do you take land that's been despoiled and reuse it, make profit, create food? We were looking for a triple net bottom line. That was my first crew. Someone before said that when they did the Ohio City Farms, they brought in Amish for their crew. This was my crew. One of my neighbors, she said, "I can't come and help you," but she paid these young guys to come and help me. And of course, they did what kids do. They wanted to play. Until I got smart. I put that X on the building. I wanted them to pick up stones. They would do it for about 10 minutes. Once I put the X on the building, so who can hit that X? Within a half hour, all of the stones were right up under that X. They took and so I learned something about life. Let people do what they're good at and what they want to have fun. And from that, once we started, we had volunteers from all over the county coming to help us. One of my prize moments is when my friend Andrew Samtoy got for the first time on a two-man auger, a post hole digger, digging holes in the ground. And I'm just thinking Andrew's so bright, he knew how to do it. Boy, that thing was fun, wasn't it, Andrew? This is the guys that actually did the heavy work. These two gentlemen that you see on your left, they're formerly incarcerated like I am. The gentleman on the right, he's a master gardener, and he volunteered. They did the heavy lifting, and in 2010, we opened the vineyards of Chateau Huff. Another friend of mine from prison days made that sign for me. He's an artist now. He's a wood artist down in Texas. People say, well, why did you do grapes? I said, well, if I would have done bell peppers, I wouldn't be up here. There's a lot of, that's our vineyard as it looks pretty much today. That was taken years before from a house. We have 14 rows, 7 rows of Traminette, 7 rows of red grapes. That's a Frontenac. They're cold hardy varieties. They're good to 30 below zero. So while all the vineyards out in Madison was dying, ours are still very healthy this year. In fact, we got too many grapes. And the house behind it, that's the porthole to it. Remember that house behind, because we'll get back to it. That house plays an integral part in what we're doing to renew our neighborhood. At one point, my friend, but before that happened, Oprah took and put me, a woman came to town to do a story on Joe Simperman, came to see my vineyard to interview me about Joe Simperman, and said, boy, I think I can sell the story of your vineyard to a magazine. I said, go right ahead. I had no idea it was Oprah's magazine that she was talking. Oh, who's that handsome devil there on the right? Now the only problem is Oprah won't leave me alone. She keeps calling me. She wants to know. She wants to know when the wine is ready. And it is ready. I'm going to send her a bottle. It is ready. We'd like for her to sponsor the next vineyard, perhaps. That house sits right behind the vineyard. It used to. It doesn't sit there anymore. What we did, we tore that house down, and we left the basement, and we turned it into what's called a biocellar. Now, once you're 4 foot in the ground, nothing freezes. There's the equipment. Actually, that was a better photo than I had tearing down. That really not the photo of the house, but it looked quite like that when they were tearing it down. Once you're 4 foot in the ground, nothing freezes. The frost line in Northeast Ohio is 4 foot. So once you're on the basement floor, you can grow crops all year round. So we took that house, we stabilized the basement, and we're building this on top of it. Basically, it's a root cellar with a greenhouse on top of it. It is now 3/4 done. It's up, the roof is on, the glass will go on last. They were busy at it today. We're going to use solar power. That's going to change. To the north of it, thanks again to Lila Zotner, we're going to get a land bank lot that we're going to put a whole solar farm, a whole farm of solar panels. That way we can sell back to the grid all the electricity that we don't use, because we don't need a lot of electricity. Ours is solar powered. Then we're going to have bicycles, so you can get your exercise on. You can come pedal your bike and do some good while you're pedaling, not just pedaling all over town. You can actually do some work with human power to charge our batteries to run our projects. Our goal is to, this building, where once we have the grand opening for the biocellar, we're going to start raising funds for this building, which is in the land bank, going into the land bank. It's in foreclosure. We want to take and turn that into a 7,500 square foot fish farm. With the same, we're going to use the basement, save the basement. Our goal is to take properties like that, properties like this, and create that triple net bottom line. How do we create jobs, create wealth in communities, create employment? And wine actually is food. Only in America is wine thought of primarily as alcohol. It's really food thought of in Europe. This is our vision. This part of it is about 3/4 done. We want to take this and replicate it in areas all across Cleveland. We've identified at least 30 other areas, and as I told Mayor Jackson, there are 17,000 homes to be torn down. We only want to do 1,700 of them, 10%. Thank you.
How about another round of applause for Mansfield and his wine? So that's the end of our scheduled presentations for the evening. We did have one student from the Iraqi Young Leaders Exchange Program who was overwhelmed by the turnout tonight and by the response, so he wanted to present tonight. So we're going to give him the stage. Let's give him a round of applause.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Taglat Telia from Iraq, and this is my mate, Rania Karim. I think most of you heard about what's happening in Iraq about the ISIS. To those who don't know, ISIS stands for Islamic State, Iraq, and Sham. They are a group of terrorists from different nationalities.
Well, as Taglat said, ISIS is a group of terrorists. They are trying to damage the ancient and the civilization in Iraq. They are covered by Islam while they are killing Iraqi people for no reason. They came with very weird rules and systems which have no relation with Islam. For example, they killed a group of teenagers while they were watching a match. This is so weird. And they forced the men to have long beards and lots of weird another rules.
The ISIS is controlling Mosul, Salahuddin, and part of Diyala, which are big cities in Iraq. And the last couple days, the ISIS gave 3 choices to the Christian people living in Mosul. First, to become Muslims. Second, give a lot of money, which is called jizya. 3, to leave the city and without taking anything with them except the clothes that they are wearing. More than 10,000 people have been evacuated from Mosul. They have been persecuted by the ISIS, and now they are suffering from hunger, vagrancy, and after they lost their houses, money, and properties. So imagine yourself, you're in your home with your wife and your children, and a group of terrorists come to you and force you to either change your religion, or they're gonna kill you, or you have to leave all your money, your properties, and your car. And I'm sure many of you are interested in helping those people. If you have anything to help with, I will contact you with some people in Iraq who are taking care of those people. I just wanted to share the picture that's happening in Iraq here. Thank you very much.
Let's keep it going for them. Let's give it up. They came up with that tonight. They wanted to come up here and talk to you. So. And one more time for all of our presenters, please. They did such a wonderful job tonight.